For the generation before mine, right, and maybe even the generation before that generation, these people had the experience of hearing that Kennedy had been shot. Losing this iconic figure is really devastating. And we deal with the death of huge figures quite regularly. For so many people, that is JFK.
President's car is now turning onto Elm Street, and it will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at the trademark. It appears as though something has happened in the motorcade route. Something, I repeat, has happened in the motorcade route. Parkland Hospital, there has been a shooting. Parkland Hospital has been advised to stand by for a severe gunshot.
And just now we received reports here at Parkland that Governor Connolly was shot in the upper left chest, and the first unconfirmed reports say the president was hit in the head.
The President of the United States is dead. President Kennedy has been assassinated. It's official now. The President of the United States is dead.
In contrast to what most people know of the JFK story, which is the assassination and what followed and the cover-ups or whatever, the conspiracy theory stuff, we're really interested in these final moments of joy between JFK and Jackie. Those sorts of moments I find really profound and really universal. I mean, that's something that everyone on the planet experiences on some level.
My name is Royce Favrick, and I am the librettist for JFK.
My name is David T. Little, and I am the composer for a new opera based on the final days of John F. Kennedy, commissioned by the Fort Worth Opera.
I met Darren K. Woods through an Opera America event. They had a New Works Forum over a year ago. I was presenting a work through the American Lyric Theater, and we just struck up a friendship, and he suggested that it was a dream project to find a composer and a librettist team to come and write an opera based on JFK's final day, which was spent in Fort Worth, Texas. And I knew immediately that this was an exciting proposition. So over dinner, I suggested that David T. Little, who is a composer that I work with quite regularly and have over the past 5 years now, would be a really ideal compositional voice for an opera about politics and JFK.
It very quickly became clear that Darren was somebody that we not only wanted to work with, but could work well with and would have a really great time. I mean, these projects take years and years and years, so this is now kind of entering year 2 since we've been talking about it, and there are 3 more. And so you want to have people you feel good working with, because it's a commitment from both ends. There were elements of my work that I think resonated with Darren. I tend to write very rhythmically active music. There tends to be a drive to it, because I grew up as a rock drummer, and that really is present in my work. We sort of had a sense of when roughly the piece would stop and start. I think we decided early on we weren't going to go to Dallas. We weren't going to see the assassination. It was really about what happened here.
This is David Daniel just outside Hotel Texas on the parking lot, awaiting the arrival of President Kennedy for his outside speech at 8:45. A police captain has estimated the crowd at 2,000 people. They're about 50 deep. And here is the president. President Kennedy is flanked by Representative Jim Wright. You hear the crowd applauding. He's making his way across 8th Street.
I once had a professor in college who told me that you should write what you know and you should write what you don't know. And when you write what you don't know, it is your responsibility to equip yourself with the primary materials. And so to come to Fort Worth and to take all this in and to have a communion with the ghosts of the town is sort of the responsibility, I feel, that we have in order to write this piece in a really effective way and in the most emotionally truthful way.
The first stage of that is just kind of consumption. You know, we take in all this information, and Bill Madison did all this great research that we've been reading through, and interviews with people who were there, and really interesting discussion of what the Fort Worth dialect would have sounded like in 1963, and so thinking about what these characters sound like. We've been listening to interviews, recorded interviews with Jackie, listening to interviews with Kennedy. I mean, listening to these people who we have to recreate on stage, and we need to say, well, what kind of voice type is Kennedy? It's sort of a weird question to have to answer, but that's what we're being faced with. We have to establish these things. I think it's very chaotic, and it's always kind of spinning, and then at a certain point, it's just clear.
This is the very beginning of this process, but it certainly feels that this trip to Fort Worth has provided us with a velocity with which to jump off and begin really digging in and creating this work, and it's really exciting. I'm super thrilled.
But this is a very dangerous and uncertain world. No one expects that our life will be easy. Certainly not in this decade, and perhaps not in this century. The balance of power is still on the side of freedom. We are still the keystone in the arch of freedom, and I think we will continue to do as we have done in our past, our duty. I'm confident, as I look to the future, that our chances for security, our chances for peace, are better than they've been in the past. And the reason is because we're stronger. And with that strength is a determination to not only maintain the peace, but also the vital interests of the United States.